Hey guys, Dislitter Magic here, and before we get into the video, it's called Tiberian Sun. There, can we all not ask now? I could literally put it in the description, tag the video with the automatic, here's the game I'm playing, it could fill it in with the cover art from the original box, and people would still be like, what game is this? In case you didn't notice, I just started replying Magic the Gathering. Every time somebody's like, what game is this? I'm like, Magic the Gathering, like, LOL, I meant the gameplay footage in the video. I'm like, really, did ya? Is that what you meant? I didn't catch that. So anyway, with that established, let's jump into the mechanics that we already completely know about, and there was a full, literally judge's article / Word document about. But we have the accompanying art, and maybe some of you haven't seen the Sagas yet, so I thought, let's just blow through them real quick. I'm not going to go way into detail and, oh, this will be competitive, and this works well with this. You know, I pretty much already made that video. This is just straight up, here's what it is, here's how it works, here's a card, done. So first up, we've got Sagas. Here's the two that we know about. These are enchantments. They're non-legendary. I don't think any of them are legendary, actually. And when they enter the battlefield, you put one lore counter on it, and I would probably put it on the one, or you could cover the art and just do 1, 2, 3 of them. Either way. And then you immediately take the action when it enters the battlefield that lore number 1 is. So for the Flame of Keld, it would be discard your hand. And then at the beginning of your next main phase, so pretty much next turn unless you can flash one of these in or something. And this is the pre-combat main phase. So main phase 1, at the beginning of main phase 1, boom, this triggers. You put a lore counter on, and the lore counter addition is not considered a triggered action, and it's not a respondable action, but the corresponding action, which on the Flame of Keld would be draw 2 cards, that can be responded to. Then the next turn, you would go, okay, main phase 1, again, cool, 3. If a red source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player this turn, it deals that much damage plus 2 to that permanent or player instead, and then you immediately sacrifice this. So you take the action that says number 3, and then bye-bye, it goes to the graveyard. For the record, to be super precise, it goes to the graveyard after the 3rd chapter ability already resolves. So it does not go to the graveyard on top of the stack. It's weird, but it's basically like an unwritten after effect to the ability or whatever. I don't know, it's not really important. Also, the sacrificing happens as a state-based action. It's more like, okay, we resolve the ability, let's check the state. Oh, the state is 3 lower counters, boom, goes straight to the graveyard. And that cannot be responded to. Next up, we've got Historic. This really isn't a thing. I mean, it's, you know, they're acting like it's a mechanic. It's really not. Technically, it's not even a keyword. It's a word. It's just a word. I don't know. Let me read what they wrote about it. You're visiting Dominaria at a fascinating time. You know what? This sounds stupid, and I'm not going to read it. It's a new word that they invented for a certain classification of card. A card or permanent is considered historic if it is one of the following. 1, if it's an artifact, just any artifact. Could be equipment, could be regular artifact, just whatever. If it's an artifact, it's historic. Any other permanent type at all, so artifact, non-artifact, doesn't matter, anything at all with the super type legendary. So you could have a historic creature, historic, just whatever, as long as it has legendary. Could technically be a historic land, but that won't come up because it just doesn't interact with the current set of triggers. And the third category is Sagas. So any saga, which is really important because the sagas are not legendary, so you'd almost be thinking the opposite. But the easiest way to remember it is, of course, a saga would be historic. It's supposed to tell a story from history. So that'll be fun, remembering 3 types and super types and subtypes that have nothing to do with each other. I just realized I'm actually not kidding. Artifact is a type, legendary is a super type, and sagas is a subtype. So how this will work in reality is the card that's already on screen, Sarah Disciple. It says, whenever you cast a historic spell, then it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. And then it has a reminder text, which, oh my god, are we going to need that? Artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are historic. So honestly, I think this is kind of cool because it's, I'm sick of affinity and just, whenever a creature enters battlefield, whenever a flying creature enters battlefield, whenever, an artifact enters battlefield, for each token on the battlefield. This is it could be a saga, it could be anything legendary, or it could be an artifact. So it could be a whole bunch of stuff in your deck, or it could be not much in your deck, but it opens you up to being able to still kind of build anything. It's just how much bang for your buck will you get with the historic keyword interaction. And of course, it's, by the way, not a keyword. I guess you would call them historic triggers. I don't know, they haven't really... I guess you could call it a mechanic, but because they called legendary a mechanic technically, so whatever you want to call it, this is it. This is how it works. Oh, also, in case you didn't catch it, that card sucks. Oh, and I suppose I should probably throw in the second reference here. Guardians of Koilos. So whenever Guardians of Koilos enters the battlefield, you may return another target historic permanent you control to its owner's hand. So a little bouncy spell, and it just refers to like the typing on the permanent. So it's not like just prowess, basically. It does other things. Next up, we got Kicker, which is of course returning from at least one other set. I know I've seen it all the time, at least in Modern. All right, let's read this. Can you kick it? Yes, you can, because Kicker is back. Oh my god, let's stop reading this. So Kicker is basically an additional mana cost that you can pay when you cast a spell, and then if you do, you like get something out of it, something happens or whatever. Does it modify the mana cost on the stack? I have no idea, I don't care, and I'm too lazy to look it up. Can you say you're casting it, wait to see if it's countered, and then use Kicker as an ability of the spell on the stack? I don't know, I don't care, and I'm too lazy to look it up. Is multi-Kicker, Strive, and Overload better? Yes, and I don't have to look it up. But whatever, it's like, okay, I got a weak spell, and it's super late game, and I'm mad that I top-decked it. Oh wait, I can kick it, and then get way more out of it. So I like stuff like that. I love this. I love the mechanic. I like the better versions of it that were, better. Although I will say Overload was like literally the same exact thing, except it would almost always, if not always, change like target to all. So it was like Mega Strive, I guess. I think technically it predated Strive, so I don't know. You guys get it. Pay more, get more. I mean, there's like 5 different mechanics that do that. I mean, even like Bestow would go in that category. It's a very common way to print a very solid mechanic, so I do like it. So the example they got is Academy Drake, Kicker 4, so you can pay the 3 and then pay 4 more, so 7, 1 blue, 6 generic, and if it was kicked, it enters battlefield with 2 1/1 counters on it. So, I mean, a 4/4 flyer for 7 is kind of crap, but the fact that you have the modularity where you could get a 2/2 flyer for 3, or late game, you could get a 4/4 flyer. Like, yeah, you're overpaying, but you would only do that if you're like flooded on land or have a source that generates a ton of mana. So that actually does kind of balance it out and make it okay. But that said, I think Academy Drake is the worst kicker creature I've seen in the entire set. So it only gets better from there. Like, for example, Keldon Overseer. So this has Kicker 4, and by the way, some of these kickers are just like, they get upwards of like 9 mana. Like, you're never going to have that unless you plan for it, and if you plan for it, it's kind of like an all-in gimmicky combo deck, kind of. Like, not even combo. I would compare it to like a Monstrous deck, where you're actually counting on Monstrous to happen. You know, that deck that nobody built because it didn't work. Anyway, with this one, if you manage to, pull 7 mana out of somewhere, it has haste, cool, and it enters the battlefield if it was kicked. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, gains haste until end of turn. So you pay 4 extra and cast them simultaneously, I guess if you were to compare this to like a separate spell, and you get an automatic, what would that be? Act of Treason. That's pretty good. I mean, like I said, these are all designed to be overcosted pretty much if they do something good, because it's opportunistic and it's optional. The card is just fine without it, and you get 2 things with only drawing 1 card. So they had to balance it out by making it cost just berserk amounts of mana, just stuff that you would never normally get in a game. It's a nice way to end the game if you're both top decking and you're just stalling out, you're flooding, nobody can do anything, and nothing's happening in combat. It's like, oh, there you go. Here, I have 7, 8, 9, 10 mana. Boom. So it's kind of cool. They got another example here. Sapperling Migration, Kicker 4, costs 2. So that's only 6. Like, that's pretty reasonable, especially in green. So not all these are like crazy high, just some of them. Create 2 green Sapperling creature tokens. If the spell was kicked, create 4 instead. So you're paying triple to get double, but like I said, that's the balance of, cool, I kind of get 2 spells for 1 card. Oh my god, they have another example. Okay, Vicious Offering. And by the way, artwork on here looks on point. Like, this whole set so far, it's totally awesome. Anyway, Kicker, sacrifice a creature. So, I mean, it's an ability that has a cost. So, there it is. Oh, it actually might not be technically an ability. Too lazy, don't care, etc. You've heard this before. Anyway, so you pay 2, and then as a Kicker, sack a creature. So target creature gets -2, -2 until end of turn. But if the spell was kicked, that creature gets -5, -5 until end of turn instead. This is arguably a better version of Bone Splinters. I think Bone Splinters only cost 1, but oh, this is good. Like, this is really good. This is Grasp of Darkness good if you have like extraneous creatures like tokens and stuff and low level stuff that's just not important, and like mana dorks that are only important, early game or just whatever. Oh, what do you know? They actually threw the ruling in at the end. All kicker costs are paid at the same time as the spell's other costs as you're announcing the spell before anyone can respond. So you have to say whether you're kicking it or not before they react to it in any way, like countering it or cloning it or whatever. So if they counter it, you already did the cost, you spent the mana, whatever, you don't get it back. All right, next up, the stupidest mechanic in the set by far, Legendary Sorceries. This makes Epic look like a good idea, okay? Let's read what they wrote. You can't roam around Dominaria for too long without realizing... I'm not going to read this. Actually, let me complete that sentence for them. You can't roam around Dominaria for long without realizing that it's a bunch of SJW propaganda bullshit. Anyway, buttload of the best cards are going to have Legendary on them, which means good luck having 4 in your deck. You're just going to be tripping over that at the wrong time over and over and over and over and over. So to make things even worse, they have Legendary Sorceries. So it will literally say Legendary Sorcery. It's still a super type. Let me just read this, just for fun. Okay, sorceries are never on the battlefield, so what does Legendary Sorcery mean? For starters, excitement. Top decking a card and not being able to play it is not exciting, it's aggravating. So here's how it works. You can cast a Legendary Sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. Okay, even I forgot that's how it worked. I thought it was a legendary permanent in play, like a legendary land or a legendary enchantment. No, apparently not an artifact either. You have to have a legendary creature or planeswalker specifically. Okay, your creature got killed, leaving behind a detached godsend, which is, legendary artifact sword. Oh, you're in trouble, you got nothing to defend with, oh my gosh, and then you top deck Urza's Ruinous Blast. Oops, you can't cast it. Oh well, guess you just lose. And when the hell would you want to cast this when you actually have something you give a crap about on the field? This whole mechanic, the whole idea of it is just stupid. It's like, here, have a really good powerful spell, and FYI, you can't always reliably cast it. They call it balancing, and they're not wrong, but I call it aggravating and unplayable, and I'm not wrong. So that's the only restriction. The way they phrased it was you need a legendary planeswalker or creature around to cast the spell, which is great for the lore. Like if you literally had, I guess, Urza on the field. I don't think Urza's in the set, but you could have Jace out and then you could cast Urza's Ruinous Blast. That makes sense. I made a deck where the elves helped out like the Eldrazi. So, the lore falls apart in actual decks. So let's get past this garbage. What's the last one? We've got Hexproof from. Okay, let's be honest. Hexproof is too damn powerful, okay? It's too good. Like even Shroud was like a powered down version of Hexproof, and they have done almost nothing Hexproof except for like saver spells, and I wouldn't even really call that Hexproof. It could be indestructible, it could be Hexproof. It's almost the same thing. Honestly, the Hexproof one was a little bit more powerful, depending upon if it's combat or not, so whatever. But yeah, Hexproof was just too good, and that's why they haven't put it on many cards lately, because you just can't do anything. You basically have to stop the creature in combat. If you're not able to do that, you lose, and that's just like a little bit going too far. So what they did with this one is Hexproof from. It specifies the source, which is brilliant. Now, they used to do protection from, like literally like even granular as like protection from vampires or protection from creatures, protection from white and green. Progenitus, I kid you not, look the card up, protection from everything. It says that on the card. It's not from an unset. Ironically, it's pretty easy to kill that creature. So let's look at one of the examples we know. We technically only know 2, but this is the only one with the artwork. Knight of Grace. It's a 2/2 first striker for 2, so it's already pretty good. And then it has Hexproof from black. So this creature can't be the target of black spells or abilities from black permanents that your opponents control. Your own black spells still work. Like I said, this is not Shroud. I don't know, the bottom I will read, why not? Knight of Grace gets +1/+0 as long as any player controls a black permanent. So they're doubling down on that anti-black racism white power. I'm not the first person to make that joke about this card, and I'm damn sure not going to be the last. It's probably not even going to be the last time I make that joke. So I like the mechanic, right? No, I hate the mechanic. It's exactly what they said they're not going to bring back to the game. It's literally the stated reason why they dropped protection from color out of evergreen keyword status. And since then, no joke, I believe they've printed 1 card with the protection mechanic on it. I think it's been like 9 sets or like like 14 or something, like since like Theros when that was big. Oh, technically it was used pretty heavily in Origins, so Theros wasn't the last one. But either way, right after Origins, they downgraded it to what they call a deciduous keyword, which apparently means dead and buried, because like I said, they really haven't used it since. One reason was because people had no idea how it worked and they constantly got the rules wrong. And two, they said something to the effect of, they don't want who you sit down against to be the determining factor of whether a card is good or completely not. It should be play decisions, how you built your deck, and just how good and effective the deck is, how consistent, that kind of stuff. Not, oh, is my opponent running black? If they are, this card is great. And if they're not, the card does next to nothing. They said they wanted to get rid of that because it's random. It has nothing to do with player skill, decisions, nothing. It's just luck. It's just random chance. Who did you get paired up against at F&M? And they thought that was stupid and people didn't like it. And then they went on to say, that's why we design modal spells, because we want heavier decision making. We don't want, oh, did I draw the right card or did I draw the wrong card? They're like, did I make the right decision 4 turns ago? Oops, I could have played that better. That's what they want, so that the more skilled player wins, not just the luckier player. That's why they said color-based stuff with protection, we're just really not going to bring it back. Well, surprise, bitches! What's that clop, clop, clop noise? It's Knight of Grace riding in to ruin everything. The only difference is that, okay, this is a good card whether your opponent's playing black or not. It's just way better if they're playing black. And also, you don't get to choose the color. So that was like a whole thing with like God's Willing and all that. I still don't like it. It still comes down to exactly what they said people didn't like and what they thought was wrong with the game, which was just completely random chance. What is my opponent playing? Oh, cool, I get an advantage. What is that? That's stupid is what that is. So I don't like this at all. Now, if it had like hexproof from, I don't know, Planeswalkers, like that would actually be pretty cool because it's color universal. So they didn't say that every single instance of this is going to be a color. So that should be interesting. But if it was tribals, like, oh, you have protection from knights, you have protections from wizards, you can't, be targeted or take damage, or no, not take damage, that'd be protection. But you can't be the target of a spell or ability of, that type, whatever it's saying. Like basically, if you said hexproof against wizards, you can't be targeted in the first place, but you can still take damage from it. So it is distinctly watered down from protection, because protection was insane. I mean, you couldn't take damage from it. It couldn't be enchanted or equipped by permanents of that, whatever. It couldn't be blocked by that color or type or whatever, and it couldn't be targeted. Basically, you just couldn't stop it. So protection was like too good. So at least they watered it down to hexproof, and at least this creature is not just complete garbage without your opponent playing black. But that said, I still don't like it. I don't like the idea behind it. I really don't like anything about this. So I don't know, whatever. At least we have kickers. So if you have any questions, I just so happen to have read the judge document about these keywords. So I'll try and answer your questions as best as I can, or somebody else, because there's lots of smart people that watch my channel and end up in the comment section. So thanks for watching, and video marathon continues right after I catch this epic Pokemon in my apartment's parking lot. See you guys next video.